Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the Astronomical Society of Penang's March What's Up in the Sky program for the year 2022. Please visit our website at astronomicalsocietyofpenang.com or our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and YouTube page for the latest information and updates. And without further ado, let us start our March 2022 What's Up in the Sky. We kick off the month of March 2022 with Orion hanging high overhead in the evening sky. And as usual, the belt of Orion serves as a very good navigation point in the sky where if you point it down towards the southeast, we'll reach the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. And if you point it the opposite direction, we'll reach the Hades and the Pleiades. Both are groups of stars. The Hades is actually a big cluster of stars containing the brightest star in Taurus, called Aldebaran. And the Pleiades is yet another cluster of stars, very bright, visible to the naked eye, with about 200 stars in it. So, if we use the belt of Orion, we can find these objects. And of course, if you can search for the bright winter constellations of Orion, Canis Major, Gemini, and Auriga, these are kind of the highlight constellations for the winter sky. But of course, we're transitioning slowly into the spring. We will have the spring equinox on March the 20th. So that indicates the beginning of spring. But of course, we can still see a lot of the winter constellations. And if you are observing from a dark sky site far away from city lights and light pollution, you can find the winter Milky Way meandering its way between Auriga, Gemini, Orion, and Canis Major, down all the way to the south into the southern constellation of the big ship Argo Navis, which comprise of Vela the sails, Carina the keel, and Puppis. So the winter Milky Way would gradually also transition into the springtime Milky Way, passing the Southern Cross and slowly heading towards the summertime galactic core of the Milky Way. The moon enters the evening sky beginning March the 4th after the new moon on March the 3rd, 2022. And subsequently, the full moon will occur on March 18th. So between the new moon and the full moon, the moon will be partially illuminated by the sun, and it's a good time to observe the craters at the terminator, which is the edge between the brightly lit part of the moon and the unlit part of the moon. The morning sky in March offers more interesting sights. At the beginning of March, watch for a planet parade in the east just before sunrise. Venus and Mars are higher up together with the moon. Saturn and Mercury are lower down in the eastern sky before sunrise at the beginning of March, starting March the 1st. Nearer to the eastern horizon, Saturn and Mercury have a dance around each other until March the 5th. These planets remain in the morning sky pretty much, and Venus will reach its greatest western elongation on March the 20th, which means that it is furthest from the Sun on March the 20th from the Earth's vantage point. So Venus will be the highest in the sky during this morning star cycle. Meanwhile, Mercury will head towards a conjunction with Jupiter on March the 21st. However, this event could be hard to observe because the pair will be very, very low near the eastern horizon just before sunrise. The month of March 2022 will end with a beautiful conjunction of Saturn and Venus on the 29th of March. But actually, the show begins on March the 28th, where we can watch out for the gathering of Venus, Mars, Saturn, and the Moon in the eastern sky before sunrise. Of course, on March the 29th, Venus will be closest to Saturn, and then the Moon will leave Venus, Mars, and Saturn and approach closer to Jupiter lower down in the eastern horizon on March 30th and 31st. So that's the sky events for March 2022. I think that the morning sky of March 2022 certainly has much to offer, so that's a motivation to get up earlier in March of 2022 and go watch the skies before heading off to work or going to school. whatever you're up to during the day. So now I would like to talk about the constellation of the month. The constellation of the month for March 2022 is Auriga, the charioteer. We can find Auriga high up in the sky towards the north in the month of March. The brightest star in Auriga is Alpha Auriga or Capella. The star Capella is the sixth brightest star in the sky and the third brightest star in the northern sky. Capella is about 43 light years away, so it's actually relatively close to the sun. The constellation of Auriga offers some interesting targets for binocular observers, and they are mainly the three bright open clusters M36, M37, and M38. M36 is also known as the pinwheel cluster. It's quite a bright cluster shining at magnitude 6. Nearby is also M37. It's also another open cluster shining at also close to magnitude 6, about magnitude 5.6. So they are all easy targets in binoculars. And also M38, which is an interesting cluster with the name the starfish cluster. So I believe some people look at a cluster and imagine a starfish. I have never really bothered to imagine that, but when I realized that, oh, okay, it looks like a starfish, I looked at it and yes, it sort of does. So feel free to use your imagination to observe these three beautiful star clusters through your binoculars or telescope. If you have a telescope, you can aim your telescope towards the star Theta Auriga, and it is a double star with a separation of about 3.9 arc seconds. And there's Theta Auriga A and Theta Auriga B. So that's an interesting double star to observe. So that will be the interesting highlights in the constellation of Auriga. I hope you'll find a lot of joy and fun observing objects in this constellation, and hope you scan the constellation through your binoculars. There are actually many more clusters in the constellation, and the Milky Way, the winter Milky Way, also finds its way through the heart of the constellation. So if you scan Auriga with binoculars, you would most certainly come across some interesting objects. So please keep looking up and have fun. Remember to like and subscribe our Astronomical Society of Penang's YouTube page. Go and like the Astronomical Society of Penang's Facebook page, and keep updated with our latest events through our social media sites. Thank you very much. Have a good month ahead. Stay safe and keep looking up. Bye.